Okay, good evening, boxing fans, and we are live. And this is Anthony with BBSN, and we are here to talk a little bit about Glory Days boxing and have a rematch between Muhammad Ali and John L. Sullivan. And I really want to what I want to start off talking about, and we'll hold on a little bit to give a couple more people a chance to get in here. And AC, hello and welcome. And just getting set up. And really what the focus of the first part of this will be is just a chat about, I guess, some minor revisions I've made to the flow of the game. And one of the things that I really wanted to do by releasing videos on this game a full, 5 or 6 months before the product, and it might be shorter than 5 months, could be 4. But basically by the end of the year, the game will be released. And what I wanted to do by putting videos up this early when it was still in the prototype stage is when you start to develop and get going, through the process of putting a game together, you tend to somewhat get tunnel vision. And I wanted to get this out there, one, to see if there would be interest, and obviously, 2, to get feedback on it, because it's a project that, let me adjust my camera, I see it's off. It's a project that, we want people to enjoy and have a good experience with, and part of that is it has to be a game you really want to play. And some things that I was looking at specifically with this is the interaction that goes on between the fighters and around. And some good feedback that I received from ID Jester, and he has an amazing channel, does a lot of Warframe, does some inside pitch computer, live streaming on both, and currently doing the Bo Jackson, Bo Knows Baseball replay, so check that out. But some comments he brought up is it made it clear that, one, I needed to better define the process of in-ring fighting when the fighters were exchanging punches. And the action, while it takes place simultaneously, obviously there has to be one fighter that goes first and one that goes second. And I think that was probably not explained adequately by me initially. So the way that would work is, the mechanic was the fighter, when fighters tie, and that means on their star ratings here, they basically throw punches simultaneously or exchange. Whereas if one has 2 stars and the other has 0 or 1, the fighter that wins the ring general check will be the one on offense, and the fighter that loses can only do a defensive action, which would be either block punches or counter punch. Whereas with the tie, they're both throwing, it's an offensive action for both, and neither one. And Al Red Sox fan, what's up, my friend? Welcome. And Al Red Sox fan, another of our friends of the channel, who has an amazing channel himself. He does a little bit of everything, some computer strat. The new baseball game, I believe, is strategy baseball you were playing, doing some replay hockey. Had a fantastic game between Boston and Edmonton the other night. He also does some title bout boxing. And if you've ever heard Al call a boxing match, that is the standard by which all boxing announcers should be measured. D. Scott Howard, he says, hello from the dusty trail from home from my walk. Hope you had a great walk, and welcome, Scott. D. Scott. I was just kind of going over the mechanics of the interactions when both fighters are exchanging punches. So what ID Jester brought up that really made me think about this particular piece of the interaction is that the fighter who was winning the round always went first in that exchange. And while technically again, the action is simultaneously, so in the wash it doesn't really matter. I think it kind of takes away a little bit from the flavor of the exchange. So I thought about that, and what I came up with was a momentum system. So the way that is going to work, and this is again the last chart that we have, the fighter that scores last during a segment in the round will be said to have momentum. So when that occurs in the case of a tie, and it's easy to keep track of, you just move the round timer on one side of the number or the other, and that tells you who has momentum. And if there's an even exchange where both fighters are going to have an offensive action, then the fighter that has momentum will roll first. And again, it's happening at the same time, but just for more immersion, I guess, in round where Ollie could be dominating a round and going first every time. Sullivan wins a segment. Excuse me. Sullivan wins a segment, and the next roll they have an even result. Sullivan would go first in that segment. So basically, the fighter initiating the exchange is how you could look at that. The other time the momentum check will come into play is when both fighters go at the same time. We'll resolve the whole process, which means knockdowns, cuts, all of that are resolved basically simultaneously. And there are fights where both fighters go down in a round, and sometimes within 30 seconds or so of each other. So that in itself is not a result I'm worried about, because it does happen, and it's not going to happen very much. Obviously, where the momentum marker comes into play in that scenario is if both fighters go down in the same segment, and then you have to check for knockouts. Obviously, you're not going to have a double knockout. That has occurred in boxing before, but probably winning the lottery and then getting hit by lightning on your way home from the store from cashing in your winning ticket is about how often that will occur. So in that scenario where it may come up where both fighters get a knockdown and then score the knockout, whoever has the momentum going into that segment will actually get the knockout, and the other fighter will not. So, and again, it's going to be a rare instance, in the way that that would be explained is the fighter having the momentum gets off and initiates his attack just a split second before the other fighter, thereby securing the knockout. So that's really it. And the other thing, and he brought up a good point, and again, ID gesture, is when both fighters tie and someone has an inside result, someone has an outside result, normally you see exchanges in the same place. You'll see both fighters exchange on the inside, or both fighters exchange on the outside, or a fighter may initiate on the outside, then a fighter works in and gets his blows inside in the pocket. He brought up a good point there. So the momentum marker in that situation will also dictate where the action takes place. So I'll give you an example. Muhammad Ali rolls a 3 here, so he's got outside 2. Sullivan rolls a 6, so he has inside 2. We're in the 4th segment of the round, and Ali has the momentum. So because he has the momentum and he rolled outside even though it's tied, again, it will be a simultaneous exchange, but it will take place on the outside because Ali, having momentum, the mechanic there will be that he has still the superior ring generalship, even though it's a toe-to-toe exchange. So it's basically done, and it's dictated on his terms, if that makes sense. So that really is the adjustment. And just checking the chat. Keep your eye on the ground, D. Scott. And seems like a good adjustment. Yes, it does. And yeah, thanks. And again, it's all about immersion, in-fight immersion. That is the most important piece to me with this game, is that when you're in there, the fights are exciting, realistic. And again, cards and dice have a bigger margin for error than, say, a computer sim. But that doesn't mean you still can't get immersed in them or find them exciting. And the other thing that I've been looking at as I've tested here is punches landed. Typically in an average heavyweight fight, and I went on CompuBox and just picked some random stats. And very happy with the way they've lined up with the fights that we've shown so far. Just to give you an example, middleweight bout, Triple G and Canelo. Canelo averaged 18, or Triple G averaged 18 punches landed in that fight, Canelo 14. Heavyweights, you get up to where it's a little bit different. Looking at the worst, Tyson Fury, when he took the title from Klitschko in 2016, that was an abysmal fight. Fury averaged 7 punches landed around, Klitschko 4. To put it in more realistic terms and more of what an average is, some recent fights, Deontay Wilder's last fight, he averaged 10 punches landed per round, and his opponent, Luis Ortiz, 9. In the Anthony Joshua Klitschko fight, Joshua averaged 10 punches per round, Klitschko 8. Going back to some of the fights that we've had, in the first Sullivan Ali match, both fighters averaged 10 punches a round. Ali was like actually 9.8 and Sullivan 10.6 or 10.1. Some of the prior fights before that, the Mike Tyson-Jack Johnson fight, Johnson averaged 9 punches landed per round, Tyson 8. So I'm really happy with the way those numbers are shaping up in terms of the overall simulation. So I think we're good at that, in terms of that. And I did a lot of testing before, and I was happy with the punches landed, which is how I came up with the final values here. But just wanted to touch on that. And then before we start or have the rematch, Sullivan and Ali 2, just wanted to talk a little bit about future plans for the game. And right now, this is the only chart that the game includes. I'm working on another chart, and it's going to be an out-of-the-ring chart. And what that chart is meant to encompass, and please hit the like button. Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Beatles Eternally, welcome. Hi, Pugilist. I know it's late for you, so appreciate you checking in, Beats. And love the all-time baseball tournament that Al Red Sox fan is currently conducting, inspired by you. So thank you very much for that idea. But going into the future with this, the other chart I'm developing will be, it'll encompass things that happen outside of the ring, and it's going to coincide with a fictional set of fighters that I eventually want to release for the game. And fictional, if you've watched the Red, White, and Blue racing game, I love that game. I wish I'd ordered it sooner. But the fictional racers in that game really create it's like you're playing God over the universe, and I think it creates sometimes a greater sense of immersion. And I was really on the fence about doing fictional boxers for this game. And after watching, and there's Steve Tower. Steve, thank you very much for joining. And Steve is the one who is responsible for me buying Red, White, and Blue racing. So thank you for that. I mean that sincerely, because I would have continued to blow it off, and if I hadn't watched your videos on there. So with the fictional universe, you can kind of create your own backstories. You know the real fighters. So with fictional, I wanted the out of the ring chart to kind of mesh with that, where there'll be instances where a fighter will have a poor training regimen and they'll actually lose endurance points coming into the fight, or they may be exceptional, gain more. A certain trait might happen where they work on their defense, so they're able to avoid a knockout blow. These are some of the things that I'm going to incorporate into those charts, into the training charts. And so they'll have a minor effect on the fight. And I think they work better with the fictional fighters. You can obviously use them with the real fighters, but I didn't want to get into a situation where, I'm saying Muhammad Ali is going to have to skip a fight because he got caught with performance-enhancing drugs of something of that nature. So with fictional, you're not going to offend anyone there. No one definitely is going to come back and sue me. Not that that would happen, some rinky-dink boxing game, but you never know. So those are some of the things that will be incorporated with the fictional set, and I look forward to doing that. And another thing that I and part of game development is you do plagiarize a little bit. And what I love what Keith has done with the red, white, and blue racing. He's given each driver a little bit of a bio. And I don't know how in depth I'm going to be able to do that with a fictional boxing universe, but I'll be able to do something to that effect, just to kind of give you just a snippet of the character of the fighter. And Al, Steve, do you remember Al, you're talking about one of the original dual threat quarterback. Fran was awesome, big Vikings fan, of course, so I love him. And with fictional, though, I think that that will kind of expand on the game and where you can take it. And then for those who just like to simulate what if or do tournaments, the real fighters will be in there, and you can also use the optional rules with them as well. So that said, I think it is time for a rematch. And in our first fight, if you watch that, Muhammad Ali had his way with Sullivan. He outlanded him in the first 2 rounds, 38 punches to 8 combined. Sullivan came back and had a great 3rd round. And then to everyone's surprise, he got Ali caught up against the ropes and got a TKO check. Referee stepped in and stopped it, and it was over. 4th round TKO. So Ali is seething from that. And without further ado, we're going to get to the ring. So Ali once again in the red corner, Sullivan in the blue corner. And we'll go through this first turn slow, just again so you can get a reminder if you haven't seen the game how it works. So the red and the blue die, red corner, blue corner, and you're going to match that with the appropriate column on their ring generalship section here. So it's outside 2 stars for Ali, inside 2 stars for Sullivan. So they're going to exchange punches. And coming out of the gate, no one has established momentum, so it's going to go to Ali from the red corner. So this will be, the exchange will be conducted from the inside, which is what they both rolled anyway. So Ali will go first on this. And the 6, the black die again represents multiples of 10. The white die multiples of 1. And the 7 is the damage rating, which gives you cuts and possible knockdown chances. So here's 69 on the inside for Ali, and that is going to be a miss. So Sullivan will get to roll his now. And the blue damage die is 7, and Sully rolls a 96, and on the inside for Sully, that's going to be a potential foul. So he's going to get a punch landed for that, which will give him momentum going into the next segment. And then you're going to roll on his foul, or look at his blue die that came up a 7. And he is a dirty fighter. He has a foul rating of 13. And again, each fighter has their own specific foul ratings and also cut and swelling ratings. So that's what we would go to next. Roll the 1d20 and 13. That's going to be a headbutt, and that will be a warning. And you see on the chart here where it has the fouls, headbutt, first is a warning. So you would mark that on the score sheet. And Sully headbutting round 1, and that's basically the end of the segment, and we would move to the second segment, and Sullivan again would have the momentum, and we'll just kind of take it up and pick it up from there. And Al says, shocking, John L. and a foul. You are correct. He was definitely a scrapper, a brawler, if you will. So 4 and a 2 outside for Ali, inside for Sullivan. And again, it's tied, so we'll have an exchange. Sullivan has the momentum, so this action will be conducted on the inside. And because Sullivan has the momentum, he will go first. And rolling his blue damage die. And 5, this is a potential knockdown if he lands, which he does. So 12 on the inside is going to be a 3-point cross. Now Ali will roll his. And we will then resolve the knockdown. And Ali, I talked about this, and this has rarely ever happened in games. It's going to happen right off the bat here, a potential double knockdown. So Ali connects from the inside. He gets a wicked 3-point jab in there. And both fighters have potential knockdowns. So Sullivan will roll for his first. And again, it has to be less than Ali's chin rating. And a 9, Ali's okay. Sullivan's turn. And 19, Sullivan is okay as well. So There you have the first example of the simultaneous interaction using the momentum system. And again, we move on to the next segment, and Sullivan still has the momentum. Ali could be still stunned by that headbutt. 2, Ali staying inside. He got in trouble doing this in the first fight, and Sullivan tries to go outside. Both of them no stars in either category. Sullivan has the momentum still, so he will go first, and this exchange will take place from the outside. So Sully and 0-6, and look at him cranking the jab. He gets 2 punches landed there. And 18, nothing on the damage die. Ali will go now. And Ali, if he lands, it's a potential cut. So we have a lot of action going on early in this one, and 39 will be a 2-point cross from the greatest. And Sullivan is potentially cut. You will then check his cut rating, damage rating. And that is an 11, so he is okay. We move on to the next segment, and we have been even here, so Sully still has the momentum. All off that initial headbutt to start things off. Ali on the inside, Sullivan on the outside. So Ali gets his 2 stars to 1. This will be fought on the inside, and Ali has the only offensive action in this one. Sullivan will be on the defensive. And 69, that's going to be a miss. Sully has a chance to counter now, and he has to roll a 1-4 to counter, and misses there. So we go on to the next segment. And Sullivan will still maintain control. Actually, Ali won that last segment, so he now has the momentum. I apologize. And just checking the chat for a minute. D. Scott made it home from his walk. Awesome. Beatles Eternally game looks great. Thank you very much, my friend. And double knockdown. I have seen a couple of those. They do happen. I do not yet. I saw one on Rocky 2. Don't want them happening in this game, though. So 3 and a 4. And 3 is going to be outside for Ali and inside for Sullivan. And again, tied up at 2 stars each. Ali has the momentum, so the action will take place on the outside, and Ali will go first. And again, this is an exchange, both fighters going simultaneously. And Ali, 70, that's going to be a miss. So Sully now has a chance to get in and score some points. And again, going from the outside, Sullivan, 23 is going to be a 4-point hook, so 4 punches landed there. And Sullivan snatches back the momentum. And he's starting much better in this fight than he did in the last one. So 5 outside for Ali, inside for Sullivan. Sullivan wins that 2 stars to 1. So he has the only offensive action in this segment, and that is going to be 58. And on the inside, that will be a miss just barely. And Ali now with a chance to counter. And again, you would use Sullivan's power die there. So if you notice, he rolled within his knockdown rating and Ali's. So if Ali lands a counter punch, which he's good at, we will have a potential knockdown here in the first. And he does, Ali with a wicked 3-point hook. So we now go to Sullivan's chin check, which is a 3. And Sullivan does not go down, but you'll see the number in parentheses here is 6. So Sullivan is stunned. That got through and rocked Sullivan. So in the next round, Ali not only has the momentum, but he will go unopposed. So in this scenario where one fighter is stunned, there will be no retaliation from Sullivan, and Ali going from the outside and a roll of 93, and that's going to be a clinch, so no action takes place. And I see you have a question. Beatles Eternally, question: does speed factor in each exchange such that Ali would have speed advantage? Really doesn't, and reason being is I couldn't really find an accurate way to incorporate that into the game. So what's going to really make the difference there in exchanges is one who has the momentum, and then basically their accuracy as a puncher or efficiency as a puncher based on where the action takes place. So Sullivan, if you look at his card, much better fighter inside. He's going to land punches on a roll of 0 to 54, whereas outside it's 0 to 39. Ali is a little bit more balanced, but he again is more heavily weighted to the outside, where you see he lands at an incredible rate. So that kind of factors in who wins in the exchange. And then the other thing there, the fighter that has a greater number of punch landed opportunities also has the opportunity to land And, you know, in this case, just say 3 punches landed off of a cross. So the volume can also be greater, and that's kind of how that works there. So great question. Thank you for asking that. So Ali, and we're going into the last 40 seconds of the first round. And 6 and a 4, inside for Ali, inside for Sullivan. So the action takes place inside. Ali has momentum. He will go first. And again, they are exchanging blows here. No defensive action will be taken. 56 for Ali, and that is a miss. And Sullivan will go now. Sullivan fires back, and 85 for Sully. That's going to be a clinch. So no points landed, no punches landed. One other thing to mention there, a clinch, when that happens, it basically nullifies all other action. So if Ali even had landed in that segment because Sullivan clinched him inside, it nullifies the exchange and they just end up hugging each other for 20 seconds, if that makes sense. Little in-ring dancing with the stars, if you will. So last segment of the first round, 3 for Ali is outside, 5. Sully, he tries to fight outside. That is Ali's territory, so Ali is on the offensive. And 0-5 from the outside, he snaps a jab into Sullivan's noggin, and Sullivan will try and block it. And again, because Ali won that, all Sullivan gets is a defensive action, and he is horrible defensively. All he can do is add punches to what Ali already landed, and he will do so on a roll of 1 to 7, which he does. So he lands an additional punch for Ali, and that is the end of the first round. And Ali is going to land 12 punches in the first round. And again, this is one area of the game that I've been really happy with so far, how the punches landed numbers really emulate the averages in real life in a heavyweight fight, where you will get on average, say 10 to 12 punches landed around, and your extremes maybe 8 to 14, 16, up to that, you know, up into that range there. So Sullivan lands 10. So the next step after that is we go to the judges' cards to see who won the round. And judges' charts right here. And basically the difference in the punches landed was 2, so a very close round. So you'll roll on the 1 to 4 point differential. So 1 to 11 goes to Ali, 12 to 17 goes to Sully, and 18 to 20 is even. So Ali, Sully, and they're split already, and Ali. So 2 judges go to Ali for the first round. Judge number 2 goes to John L. Sullivan. And that was a very close first round. And then the final factor before you go on to the next round is to do the stamina reductions. So Sullivan, he is poor. He trains on whiskey and hamburgers. He has a 60 stamina. His will go down to 48 beginning round 2. And Ali is in great shape. 100 stamina. His goes down to 90 for round 2. And with that, we're ready to go. So just making sure I don't miss any questions here. So Red Sox Al fan, all he can do is block with his face. He does block with his face very well. D. Scott Howard says Irish judge. Hey, you know the last fight was in Fenway, so they could have took that judge with them. That's highly possible. All right, let's get going round 2 here. And 3 and a 1, Ali is going to be outside, Sully inside. And Ali takes it 2 stars to 1, so he is on the offense, Sullivan on the defense. And Ali misses, a rare miss from the outside for Ali, so Sullivan with a chance to counter, and he counters on a roll of 1 to 4, does not happen. So both fighters missed there, and the way momentum works after the first round, whoever ended the first round or the last round with momentum carries it into the second. So Ali still has momentum as we enter the second segment here. And double 4s, outside and inside. And again, Ali has momentum. This will be an exchange, and it will be conducted on the outside because Ali has momentum. So both fighters go at the same time. And 55, Ali, he gets in with a hook. 2 punches landed there and a possible knockdown. So we will come back to that. And Sullivan from the outside, 30, and he's going to get an even better punch. 3 points landed on the hook, and he also has a possible knockdown. So here we go again. So we will resolve Ali's first, and Sullivan needs a 3 to go down. He's good, Ali. And Ali is good. Neither fighter is hurt. Ali's chin is 2 and his stun rating is 5. So we move on, and Ali, because he had momentum going in and that was even, he maintains it. So 6s, and both fighters on the inside, and 2 stars apiece. So Ali goes first, and 59 from the inside, that's going to be a miss. And Sullivan, he's going to fire back, and that's where he likes to fight, puts his head on the chest. It's going to be a 2-point cross and no action on the damage die. So Sullivan snatches back momentum for the 4th segment of this first round. And here we go on ring generalship control. Someone help me in chat. What was Ali at? 2, right? Yeah, 2. So 3 and a 4. Ali is outside. Sullivan is inside, and they're tied again. This is going to be conducted on the inside because Sullivan has momentum. And ID Gesture and the Cubs to Bears, welcome, welcome, guys. And Cubs to Bears, I fail to see any problem with training solely on whiskey and hamburgers. Nor do I, but I don't have to fight, so we'll train together. And ID Gesture, I did address the suggestions, and again, thank you very much for your feedback, ID Gesture, and talked a little bit and have incorporated that, and that's what you're seeing here with the momentum factors we go through. And as long as whiskey is Bushmills or Jameson's. Good point, guys. All right, so again, Sullivan with control. This will be on the inside because he has the momentum. They will both exchange here, even though Ali rolled on the outside. And 51 for Sullivan. That's going to be a 2-point uppercut and no damage on the 1d20. Ali's going to see if he can get some blows in of his own. And on the inside, 37 will be a 3-punch uppercut and a possible knockdown again. So Ali, he is battering Sullivan. Sullivan is held up so far, though, and 13, he's going to do it again. He is not hurt, and Ali takes momentum back based on that potential knockdown there for the next segment. And 2 and a 6, Ali trying to work inside, not a good idea. Sullivan has 2 stars, Ali 0, so Sullivan will be in control offensively, and Ali can only do defensive maneuvers here. And Sullivan, 95, and he's going to be at his dirty habits again, a potential foul. So 1 punch landed, and Ali will get a chance to block that, and then we'll resolve the foul rating. And 7, Ali does block that, so no punch lands, but we still have the potential foul. So 12 and 13 is Sullivan's foul rating, so he's going to commit his 2nd foul of the fight. So we will then go to his fighter-specific foul chart, and 1 is a low blow. And on the foul chart, that is his first low blow. So he will only get a warning for that. And one thing I want to mention on the foul chart, it progresses with each successive foul of that type, or if he commits 5 total fouls, then we're going to start getting into some point deduction territory or potential DQ. So that is how that works. So now on to the next segment, and Sullivan won that, so he snatches momentum back for the next one. 5 and a 4, Ali is outside with 1 star, and Sullivan is inside with 2. Sullivan will be on the offensive again, Ali on the defense. And Sully, 74, and that's going to be a miss. So Ali has a chance to counter now, and Sullivan's rolled a 1, so this could be a potential knockdown, but Ali misses. On to segment number 7. And Sully still with momentum. And Eric, Higher Ground Gaming, welcome to the chat. Mr. Brody and Miss Mags, tell them hi for me. 5 and a 2, outside for Ali with 1 star, inside for Sully with 2. So Sullivan, he's asserting his will on the inside. Ali will be on the defensive. And 28 on the inside, and we have a potential knockdown. That is a 3-point hook. So Ali will first make his defensive roll, and he does not block any of those punches. And Sullivan now going for the knockdown. Ali's chin is a 2, and he survives unhurt, heading into segment 8 of the round. Sullivan still has momentum. 1 and a 5 outside for Ali. Sullivan is foolish, tries to box outside, so Ali is going to snatch that momentum back. And 34 from the outside, and 18 on the red damage die is nothing. 34. It's going to be a nice 3-point cross. So Ali gets in, and Sullivan, all he can do is block with his face, and he rolls a 3, so he's going to add yet another punch to Ali's total. And Ali, for the last 20 seconds of the round, has taken momentum back. And here we go, 3 and a 2, outside for Ali, inside for Sullivan. So they're going to end the last 20 seconds with an exchange, and it will be conducted on the outside because Ali had momentum, and he will go first. And Ali, 27, that's going to be a 4-point cross, so a wicked right hand. That's 4 punches landed, snap Sullivan's head back, no damage. Sullivan's going to come back, though, and try to get his own blows in there. And 0-5, possible knockdown. Sullivan scores, and he has an extremely stiff jab there. 2 punches landed. And as the round ends, Ali is down. So a 2 and a 2, he's out. And 5, Ali back up at the count of 7, and he was stunned there by John L. Sullivan. So the knockdown, and that's going to sway the round in Sullivan's favor. And going to the judges' scorecard, and Ali did not go down very much, but those fighters would get on the inside, and they could potentially knock him down. So Sullivan lands 12 punches in that round, Ali 13. But again, going to the judges' scorecard there, because there is a knockdown, a 1-4 differential for Ali, and in that case, you'll go over to the knockdown chart. And the low punch scorer, which is the one who scored the knockdown, John L. Sullivan, he is still going to get the 10-8 round because of the knockdown there. So 10-8 for Sullivan, and this fight is starting the polar opposite of how the last one did, where Ali simply dominated those first 2 rounds. And ID gesture momentum might be a good answer to fix some of the issues. I thought about that a lot, and and I think with the momentum too, where you can actually track it through the round, it just adds a little bit more. I talked about it in the beginning of the stream. It adds a little bit more immersion, where even though one fighter could be winning the round, and I'm here shadow boxing, one fighter could be winning the round, suddenly you land a nice cross or good uppercut, whatever, momentum swings, and then you go into that next segment, and it can carry over. So that's kind of where I was going with that. D. Scott Howard, John L. probably stepped on Ali's foot. He does have a couple of fouls. I would not put that past him. So our endurance reductions as we head into round 3. Ali goes down to 78 stamina remaining, and Sullivan takes another 13 punches landed. He goes down to 35. So this is playing out the same as the first fight, where Sullivan's kind of wearing down, and it's going to be he's got to get to Ali within the first 5 rounds again, or it's going to be he's going to be in deep water. So 1 and a 6, and again Sullivan, because he ended that round, carries momentum in. So 2 stars each. The action will be conducted on the inside, which is where Sullivan rolled his momentum, or his ring generalship check. So from the inside, 85, and Sully gets a clinch, and that just ends the action of that segment, because nothing Ali does will change that. So on to the next segment. Sullivan still with the momentum. Inside for Ali, 2 stars. Outside for Sullivan. So Sullivan trying to box. That's a mistake, as it allows Ali to snatch momentum back. And a 27 there on the inside is going to be a 3-point hook. So Ali jars John L. and snatches momentum for segment 3. John L. probably did play with McGraw and Hanlon and company on those old teams. He was around at the time. 6 and a 2, Ali staying inside. Sullivan joins him there. So they're going to exchange, both doing an offensive action, and Ali, because he has the momentum, will roll first. And 25, Ali with a 3-point hook. So working effectively inside, no damage on the 1D20. Sullivan gets his shot now, and 43 on the inside. It's going to be a wicked 4-point uppercut, and that snaps the head back of Ali, and we have another potential knockdown. So Ali now needs to roll above a 2, and he does. He takes that shot, comes back like a champ. Even exchange there, so Ali will retain momentum as we head into segment 4 and round 3 of this fight. Sullivan a slight advantage so far. He has a second round knockdown. Outside 1 for Ali, inside 2 for Sullivan. So Sullivan is going to snatch back momentum, and he is on the offense. Ali will only be defense in this segment. And 67, that could have been another potential knockdown, but that's going to be a miss instead. So Ali with the chance to counter defensively, roll of 1 to 8 needed, and a 3-point or 2-point hook gets through there, and Ali, because he won that segment on the counter punch, is able to maintain momentum where Sullivan would have had it otherwise. 5 and a 3, outside 1 for Ali, inside, or outside 1 for Sullivan. So again, they will exchange. Ali will go first because he has momentum now. And 47, that's going to be a 3-point hook. So Ali, and does not connect on the knockdown there. Needed a roll of 5 or better. And 43 for Sully. He's also okay on the damage die. And on the outside, 43 will be a miss. So we head to the next segment. And let me just catch up on the chat here. You should make boxes out of VTech and A-Rod. How about Odor for the Rangers? He has a nice right hand, as Joey Bats would attest. And Joey Bats had that coming. I hate the way he used to pose. I got to get sidetracked now. Blue Jays down. I think it was like 6-7 runs. Batista hits a home run and then stands to admire it. Are you kidding me? He deserved the right hand from that for Odor, even though that wasn't in the same game. So inside for Ali, he does not want to be there. And Sullivan's going to take momentum. It's right where he likes to exchange, is on the inside. And 39, and Sullivan on the inside is going to land a 2-point hook, and no damage on the 1D20. Ali will roll to try and block 1 or more of those punches. He does not, so Sullivan snatches momentum back for the next segment, heading into the final minute of round number 3 here. 6s, both on the inside, so they'll exchange again, and a lot of toe-to-toe action. And one thing you'll see in this game, with a bigger disparity between fighters, you're not going to see as many even exchanges, which obviously is how it should be. And I'll just show you an example in case you are new to the game. So we'll break out Bob Satterfield, terrific puncher, horrible chin, and you'll see on his card, if he had been fighting Ali, he really only has one category here on the inside where he's got the 2 stars where he can actually absolutely dominate the round. So usually in those situations, Ali would control most of the round. And that's how you're going to account for your mismatches, the tomato cans, etc. So that said, again, on the inside, Sullivan's going to go here in the last minute, and 72, and Sullivan is going to miss a golden opportunity there as he had a potential knockdown. But Ali, now he gets his shot to go, also from the inside, and 37. That's going to be a 3-point uppercut, and Ali now lands a hard shot, and can Sullivan survive this? Sullivan, a good chin, he's got a 3, and he's okay. So Ali snatches the momentum back, though. And we head into the final 40 seconds of the round. Deuces, and Sullivan, he's going to take control back here. Ali will be on the defense. And 93, and Sullivan, it's going to be a clinch, I believe. That will be a clinch, so that ends that portion of the round. We head into the final 20 seconds now. Sullivan with momentum. And 2 and a 3, Ali inside, Sullivan outside, and Sullivan is going to outbox Ali from the outside, believe it or not, as we finish this round. So 20, and that's a possible cut. 38, if it lands, and it does land, that's a uppercut from way downtown. So Ali first will try and block those punches. And a roll of 12, he does not. Now he's going to roll for facial damage, and a 9 is okay. So that is the round. So that round, a 13-8 round for Ali. And we had some tense moments there as both fighters are getting their chins tested. Ali's stamina is going to go down to 70 for the fourth, and Sully's is going to go down to 22. Let's see how the judges score this round. And 5-point differential, so we go to the second column here. 1 to 15 will be Ali, and 16 to 20 Sullivan's going to get the benefit of a doubt, and that was all 3 to Ali. So Ali sweeps at 10-9, and he's recovered nicely from that knockdown. So if you remember in the first fight, this is where things got a little hairy for Muhammad Ali, and he will start round number 4 with the momentum. Yeah, very close round. These two, that's really what comes into play with this. Ali has tried to fight inside, and Sullivan is just a stronger fighter there. So 1 and a 4 outside, 2 stars inside 2. So they're going to exchange to start the fourth round. And Ali, being in control with the momentum, will go first. Again, this is offensive action for both fighters. And this will be fought on Ali's turf, the outside. So 32 is going to be a nice 3-point cross there. Snaps the head back of John L. And John L., he's going to fire back. Not very good from the outside, but he lands here, and a jab, and a nice jab at that. Sweat flies off of Ali's brow as Sullivan gets it home. And Ali, because that was an even round or a exchange round, will retain momentum. 6 and 1, inside, and Ali's going to outduel Sullivan in his strength, 2 stars to 1, so Sullivan only gets a defensive action this turn. And 49 on the inside for Ali, and that is going to be a miss, so Sullivan now has a chance to counter. And Sullivan on a roll of 1 to 4 will counter. He just misses his punch. We move on to segment 3, and Ali still in control here. With the momentum inside, 2 stars, outside, no stars. So Sullivan trying to box. Ali gets in the pocket, and Sullivan will be on the defensive again. And 88, that could have been a knockdown, but Ali, it's going to be a clinch instead, and that ends the segment. No further action. We move to segment 4. Ali's still in control. Not a lot of action this round compared to the earlier rounds. And outside, 1 star for Ali. Inside, 2 stars for Sullivan. Sullivan snatches back momentum. And he's going to let it go inside. Ali will be on the defense. And Sullivan 0-5, and it's a potential knockdown again. So a nice 4-point cross there for Sully. And Ali, see if he can block any of those. A 6, he actually blocks 2, but 2 still got through. So that means he's got to survive this onslaught. 15, and he shakes it off. Another hard punch, but he's okay. So Sullivan snatches momentum for the 5th segment, and that could have been disastrous. Imagine Sullivan beating Ali twice in a row. Ali gets back on the outside where he belongs. Sullivan tries to trade there, but that is not where he belongs, and Ali's going to take back momentum. And 63, Ali misses, however, and Sullivan with a chance to counter now. And 10, he misses his counter shot, but Ali will have momentum for segment number 6. And 4 and a 6, outside 2 stars, inside 2 stars. So this will be fought on the outside. They will exchange punches. Ali goes first. And 73 could have been a potential cut. Instead, it's a miss. And Sullivan tries to get off from the outside. And look at him boxing. Gets in a nice 2-point cross and a potential knockdown again. And Ali takes a hard right hand, but shakes it off once again. He is taking Sullivan's best shots. And no damage coming. So Sullivan now has snatched momentum back, winning that segment. And 2 and a 5 inside for Ali. That's not where you want to be. Outside for Sullivan. So this will be fought on the outside. Since Sullivan has momentum, he will go first. Wishing he could have bored it in there and got a little bit closer. So 77 is going to be a miss. And Ali with a chance to finish this exchange in style. And 56, Ali's going to get it done. A nice 4-point uppercut. And that straightens John L. up and gives momentum back to Ali as we head to segment number 8 of this round. And checking the chat, Sully swarms in windmill style. Ali avoids most of the blows. And agreed, very close fight this so far. Very exciting between these two. But again, the fatigue factor, Sully is going to start wearing down here. He's down to 22 endurance points coming into this round. So let's see how that goes. And again, 6 and 1, so inside for Ali, 2 stars, inside for Sully, and Ali now muscling Sullivan where he likes to fight on the inside. So Sullivan will only get a defensive action here, and Ali a big shot, and that's going to be a 3-point cross, and Sullivan potentially goes down. We will do the defensive check first and roll for the knockdown. And he does not add any punches, so Sullivan a chin of 3, Ali lands, and Sullivan goes down. Both fighters have been down. Sullivan struggling to get to his knees. The referee starts to count, and 3, it's over. Sullivan has counted out a wicked right hand for Muhammad Ali. Caught him coming in and planted him on his face. He could not beat the count. So just like the first fight, this one ends in the 4th round, and this time the tables are turned. Muhammad Ali catches a tiring John L. Sullivan with a vicious right hand to the jaw, and Sullivan goes to Dream Street and cannot find his way back to the ring. So in the 8th segment, we will roll for the time, and when you're doing stoppage time, it's odd and even, and then you match the segment, and even. The end comes. 2:34 of the 4th round, Muhammad Ali with the knockout of John L. Sullivan. And he has gained redemption and evened the score. So that is the fight, and actually a pretty even fight. Let's look at the numbers really going into that round. It was Ali on Judge 1, the first judge's card. He had it scored 28-28 due to that second round knockdown Sullivan scored. Judge number 2 had it scored 29-27 Sullivan, and judge number 3 had it scored 28-28 as well. So close fight, and this might have to set up a rubber match. I think we'll do that. And IDJ, I think he wanted to see Evander Holyfield, George Foreman, so we'll put that on the docket as well. And that is an interesting matchup. I got a Holyfield card, I think, already printed here. Pretty sure I do. There you go. So we'll give you a sneak peek at the Holyfield card there. And Holyfield, you know, probably average stamina-wise, not too great there. Little bit better working in on the inside where he can get into the pocket. And if you compare him to, say, Ali, not as many 2-star ratings. He's just obviously a notch below Ali in terms of skill. Decent power. That's actually good power for a heavyweight. Chin is good as well, and his hurt rating. So he avoids knockouts well. TKO rating is not too bad. Doesn't cut, and he fouls a little bit more than average there. So that's probably the one weakness. And you can see with his accuracy, definitely much better on the inside, landing 0 to 57 and 0 to 42 on the outside. So in terms of defense, he is a mixed bag. He's got 3 numbers here where he'll increase his opponent's punches landed and a couple where he'll decrease them, and a very good counterpuncher, 1 to 6 on the 1D20. So that is his card, and again, I have not printed George Foreman. The data is saved, but by the time they're ready to fight, I will have that. So, and just wanted to catch up with the chat here. So That was really fun. That was a good fight, Beatles. And again, thanks for watching there. And Al Red Sox fan ID, that is on YouTube. I thought you really fought in Georgia's second coming. That should be a. No, come on, IDJ. I'm not going to get an old Foreman card. I'm going for the young Foreman. Yeah, the Ollie. And the one thing that'll hurt Foreman too, especially when he was younger, his fatigue level is about on par with Sullivan. So he's going to be real dangerous for about 5 rounds, and then after that, going to be a little bit different story. So before we sign off, and again, thanks to everyone who joined and commented. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you following the game and your interest in it. I wanted to just point out a couple of interesting fighters. Tony Galento, and if you're familiar with boxing history, Galento, he trained on whiskey and burgers more than John L. did. He had a pot gut. He really looked like someone that would come and pick up your trash every Tuesday morning. Two-Ton Tony is right. Face was absolutely dismantled, full of scar tissue, but man, he had a wicked left hook, and he put Joe Louis on the deck with that punch. Louis, of course, came back to stop him in the 4th, but he had dangerous power. So here's a kind of a look at his card, so you can see how things kind of get or switch. Let me check chat. D. Scott Howard, are you rating fighters in their prime or overall career? They will all be rated prime, my friend. And, for the sake of what-if matches and tournaments. And something I have not thought about yet, but is a possibility for an add-on at some point, is if you want to take a real fighter, like the fictional fighters, I envision it very much like Keith does with the Scram fictional racers, and that is every year putting out a set, and it's not going to be, that's something that will have to be really determined, probably just the popular divisions. I'm not going to put out 100 fictional strawweight fighters every year. The weight divisions are pretty much going to be the original 8, and I'll of course include guys that fought like junior welterweight and welterweight or whatever. I think boxing is so diluted now. Just when you only have to move up 4 pounds to fight for a second world title, that's kind of ridiculous. But what I'm going to do with the fictional set is, as they're released each year, you'll see fighters kind of mature and kind of move along like they do, like I said, using the Scram model, which I think Keith did a great job, where the fighters' traits are different, or the racers' traits are different every year. So something similar with fictional, and then with the real life set, we would have to do a chart that had adjustments there, because we couldn't put out different, and that's another idea to add to the back of the card. And again, if that's something that's feasible with production, or what I could probably do there is release a chart for the fighters which have adjustments pre-prime and post-prime. Or let's see, Al Red Sox via formula could do a chart for past prime, absolutely. And that would maybe require some bookkeeping on the score sheet, but if that's something that's interesting, again, that can be an optional feature. That's what's, to me, is going to be so fun about this game, or to me fun anyway, is that what you're looking at here is pretty much the base game. So you got fighters in their prime from all through history, simple chart, and just fight, see who wins, do tournaments, whatever. And there's plenty of room to add optional charts for aging, or for fighters as they're breaking in, debuting. If you wanted to do like a career replay, certainly could do that. And again, it's all optional, so you can piece in and do what you want to do, or just keep it basic. So I think, I'm hoping that will be a good selling point for the game when the time comes. But going back to Two-Ton, all of his good activity takes place on the inside. Outside, he's got one with a 1-star and a donut, and then inside, also one that he doesn't do anything. And that's just to basically relate to the fact that he could be outworked on the inside by a superior tactician. So good power, Chin is okay, and he actually did have a good chin. Most of his stoppages were due to punishment, which is why you see his will ratings a little bit higher. So that makes him more susceptible to a TKO when he runs out of stamina, which he will do. And 85, crazy enough for as out of shape and pudgy and ugly as he looked, he really was not in terrible shape. I mean, he didn't just fade after 3 rounds. He could fight deep into fights, not obviously up there with some of the others, but again, not terrible. And part of that may be due to the fact that the man never did anything to increase his muscle mass. He was just a big blob of no muscle, which does not cause you to fatigue as quick. And IDJ, can you put a card closer to the camera so I can see? Yeah, absolutely. So, and then his foul ratings are very different. Let me put a couple up. So, the worst fighter I have carded so far is Joe Grimm, and Joe Grimm, the human punching bag, and his record, depending on the source you look at, varies, but the generally accepted record for Joe Grimm is 24 wins, 104 losses, and 22 draws with 10 KOs. Now, the thing that made Grimm interesting, and you can kind of compare him to Galento here, you can see how horrible he is by his ring general ratings. So, with only 2-star opportunities, if these two were to fight, and I've got the formulas written down, I don't have them ingrained in my brain, sorry. But he really only has each round or each segment 4 potential chances to seize offensive action and put Galento on defense. So Galento is going to control the fight, and you'll see on Grimm's card his chin rating. That 8 there he's not too hard to knock down. He went down a lot. The thing with him is, you see his KO rating, that's George Chuvalo KO rating right there. He always got up. He took ferocious beatings. He fought Jack Johnson, who absolutely crushed him, but he went 6 rounds with him. So again, most of Joe Grimm's stoppages were from cuts or just absorbing so much punishment he had no choice but to be rescued. And there's stories of Joe Grimm where actually ladies would be in attendance at his fight and faint and scream and cry for the referee to stop the contest. So, in Galento, we talk about the individualized foul ratings. Galento was a dirty inside fighter. So you see there, most of his fouls are going to be low blows and headbutts, things that happen from the inside, where you look at a fighter, let's say like a David Hay. You know, Hay is more balanced there. So, yeah, he's got some, but Galento is going to do a lot more fouling inside. Hay is going to get more for holding, that type of thing. So that's kind of how that comes into play. IDJ, okay, question. How do you determine what the fighters outside and inside go to on a 6? Galento has only 2 outside, and it's number 1 and 4. Is there a reason it's on lines 1 and 4? Actually, and I'll be totally honest, I wanted to have a random factor in the game. So the way I determined how many inside and outside ratings they get is a style of fighter. So that's the first step. And I'll bring out another example. Pedro Augusto is a more balanced fighter. So you'll see on his chart, on his card, he's got 3 outside, 3 inside. Jack Johnson, more of a boxer, 4 outside, 2 inside, and then John L. Sullivan, get his head on your chest and wear you down brawler, 4 inside, 2 outside. So that's going to be the variance in terms of how many inside versus outside results are on each card. And then assigning where they appear on the 1 through 6. I've got 5 or 6 different templates for that, and I will just randomly apply the templates based on fighter type to the fighter. I didn't want everybody to, okay, it's a 3, or let's say it's a 4, it's always going to be on the outside. Because you can see here, it's definitely different on these 2 fighters. And then on Pedro Augusto, he's inside on 5, Johnson's outside, and Sullivan's outside. So I wanted that variety there so that you weren't always seeing the same pattern in terms of where the action was taking place, if that answers your question. And then any more questions from anyone on the game mechanics, fighters? And again, the initial release, I'm working on fictional names now. So the initial release for sure will include 100 all-time great, somewhat great, and never great heavyweights. You're going to have fighters in there like the father and son McNeelys, Peter and Tom. Obviously, all the champions will be in there, and a lot of fringe contenders, guys like Greg Page, Jimmy Ellis, or Jimmy Young, who gave actually outboxed Foreman, wore him down. So there'll be a good mix there. So 100 middleweights, 100 heavyweights, and then back to the question. Al Red Sox fan, example, Frazier will be much better on the inside. Absolutely. Frazier is a shorter heavyweight. He liked to get inside, work that hook. He had a tremendous hook. So on Frazier's card, you'll actually see a lot more of his high volume punch results be hooks as well, because he had a great hook, as Muhammad Ali can attest to. So IDJ, so a fighter with an outside on lines 1 and 4 isn't any different than a fighter with outside on lines 1 and 5. They will be the same, just random spots. That is correct. The one difference, of course, will be based on the skill of the fighters. Of course, the star ratings will be different. So in some cases, fighters who are just absolutely, totally terrible on the outside might have 2 outside ratings and no stars on either of them, with all their good results taking place on the inside. Whereas a balanced fighter who is maybe a little bit better on the outside will have, maybe a couple of 2-star ratings on the outside and then a blank. Again, it depends on the fighters. I have a formula where I categorize fighters into basically tiers. And the tiers that they're in, it's based on, boxing is so subjective too. It's based on basically where they're regarded in history, titles fought, quality of opposition, that type of thing. And I've kind of gotten to the point where I've spent so much time since I was a kid poring over boxing books, and since the advent of the internet box rec, that I know a lot of the more well-known fighters' records, who they fought. So that part was actually pretty easy for me to categorize and get them into different tiers. So if that answers your question. And then what I talked about IDJ also in the beginning is the momentum suggestion actually, or the momentum implementation actually came directly from your idea, where you were talking about if one fighter was winning the round when they went into that exchange, even though they're both simultaneously trading shots, so it's a toe-to-toe action, they're both going at it. So from a game perspective, even though the rolls are first and second, their punches are going to land at the same time. Or, right from Ali, left from Frazier, uppercut from Ali, jab, that type of thing. But you made a good point where in that situation, if one fighter's winning the round, he's going to get to go first in those even changes the entire time, which kind of, to me, I guess, and I saw your point, it kind of hurts the immersion a little bit. So say Ali's up by 10 points and Sullivan finally wins the segment, lands 2 punches, Ali lands 0. Sullivan's going to take back that momentum. So if in the next segment they get into an even exchange, Sullivan will go first. And again, I go into detail and also how that comes into play with knockouts in the beginning of the video. So that should, I think I pretty much covered everything that you brought up in terms of your comments, which again, thank you very much. Got me thinking, which is good. And again, that's why I'm doing this, is to get outside of my box and get feedback and really put together a game that you want to play, and when you're finished with one fight, go, damn it, I got to have another fight. To me, I don't care really how many I sell as long as people enjoy the ones that I do sell. And that's ultimately it for me. I'm not doing this to make a living off of. I'm doing it because I have a passion for this and, just want to put something out there, put out a game that I like playing. So, D. Scott Howard, the momentum change makes the game flow much more naturally. And yeah, I agree 100%, and all credit goes to IDJ there. So got me thinking, and again, when I'm forced to think, I'm forced to come up with a solution, and that's what came out of this. And what I really looked at a couple of different things. Is I thought about adding a momentum chip. You move back and forth between blue and red corner. And I'm like, I just don't want to add any more time to the fight. And finally, it just struck me. I'm like, damn it, just use this. So the chart will be slightly modified and kind of split. So it's easy, just as you go down in momentum changes, to move it to one side or the other. It doesn't waste any more time in the game, and actually, like you both mentioned, I think adds a little bit better flow to the in-fights experience. So kudos for that. Definitely will have something for you for that great suggestion that got the thought process going, IDJ. Thank you. And dice driven, I agree. And first of all, I will never disparage Title Bout. Title Bout is, to me, still one of the premier board games ever made. Amazing. It was one of the first board games I got into, along with Status Pro and if you remember that old Superstar baseball game from Avalon Hill that had all the Hall of Famers in it. So those were really the first two games I played. And as a teenager, I was of course an athlete, and in my spare time did what a lot of teenagers do, is try and get people over 21 to buy me and my friends beer, and I chased girls. But one thing I did that was different than a lot of my peers is was real good friends. I worked in a restaurant business in my teens, and the owners, it was a family-owned business, and I was very good friends with one of the owner's sons. And after the restaurant closed, I would break out my Title Bout, and we'd drink beer, and because he'd stay overnight in the restaurant because he'd have to open it the next morning. So we'd play Title Bout until 3, 4 in the morning, and we had this massive tournament. And he was a huge Ali fan, and I remember at one point, Ali didn't make it to the finals. Jack Johnson won the tournament, and Ali got eliminated in the quarterfinals because he suffered a cut, which if you know Title Bout, Ali doesn't cut that easily, and just the random numbers played out. And he bitched he never let that go. He was just so, he doesn't cut. Look at his face. It's even hard to cut that the way it's shaped. He just went on and on, but that happened, so he had to deal with it. But yeah, Title Bout, I spent so many hours on that game. Jim Tronzo has made an amazing product. And, in designing this, I definitely didn't want to try and emulate Title Bout, because you can't. It's in a class by itself, but I wanted to give something different that was still engaging and involved dice, because I like rolling dice, and I think that I thought there was a way to do it, and I spent a lot of time figuring it out and restarting and deleting, and you have no idea how many times in the first 3 months I totally designed the cards and the mechanics, all that stuff. But hopefully have something that is a nice attraction and flows well, and again, I don't really care how many I sell, just as long as the ones I sell bring people joy. So that's the ultimate goal of this. So, well, hey, again, I really, really, really want to thank everyone for joining. I'm glad that had another pretty exciting fight, and Ali, this result, if they fought 100 times, I could see Sullivan maybe stopping Ali a couple, but the result that happened tonight, I think it's set up more in line with how that fight would have gone down. Sullivan would have came out, tried to maul Ali early, may have caught him. And, you remember Ali could get caught. Frazier put him down. Kenny Norton broke his jaw. So, Ali had a great chin, but the way he fought, if he got caught just right, the way he was always shifting his weight, he could go down a little bit just from being off balance, or not really off balance, but just in a good position. You know, I don't think I ever saw Ali legitimately in a world of hurt in a fight. He was tough as nails and obviously a great boxer. But yeah, I could see it kind of playing out. Sullivan mauls him early, gets in, lands that lucky blow. Ali's up right away, shakes his head, wiggles his finger at Sullivan, and then just goes to work. And eventually, starting to break Sullivan down. Sullivan was tiring, and as he tried to work in, Ali just caught him with a perfectly timed cross, walked right into it, and hit the deck. So, again, we're going to wrap this up now, and final thanks and to all the friends of the channel. Al, Red Sox fan, check his channel out. He does every sport under the sun, does a great job, and his excitement for what he does shows through in the way he announces it. IDJ, brother, I love your inside pitch. That is such a great game. Loving the Bo Jackson replay. I have watched Warframe. I try and follow that. I'll admit I'm not, I can tell you definitely have a passion for that, and it gets intense, and I am horrible at those kind of games, but I enjoy watching those every once in a while as well. Make sure we caught everyone here. I haven't seen Chris from Strat-O-Matic Delaware online in a while, hoping he is doing okay. And he's been like a week. He's another one of my favorite channels. Clinton Parks does some good stuff with baseball. NP3 is what he's playing now. And Al, I forgot, I don't know if you mentioned it. Let's scroll back through the chat. What was that game that Beats found, the free baseball game? And I want to say Strategy Baseball. Is that it? Hey, IDJ, thanks again for joining. Again, love your channel too. Have a great night. Strategy Baseball, that was it. So Beatles Eternally, that looks like a really fun game. Great find by Beats on that. And thank you to Beats for joining. D. Scott Howard for joining the chat as well. And love sharing this with you all. And hopefully I'm not missing anybody. But if I am, I appreciate you all. So thanks to everyone who watched. Hope you all have a great night. Al, what are you doing tonight, brother? Any events going on later? I know the missus has informed me. We watched that show Animal Kingdom. It's on TBS with what the hell's her name? I forget the name, but it's that show where this crime. It's basically a family, and the mother is kind of the matriarch of this family. They go out and commit all these crimes. A very twisted show. It's got Sean Hatosi in it, who was on Southland, and some other lesser known. It had Scott Speedman in it. He unfortunately met a terrible end in the first episode. But Mrs. Bleacher Bums has informed me that we have to watch that tonight. And she wants me to set up the TV out on the bar by the jacuzzi so we can watch it there. So I'll be doing that, but I'll be on later. For the knockout, we'll see you. Take care, all.